Hello, everyone. This is Juanita Kapp from South Africa, but I'm not streaming from South Africa. I'm streaming from Texas, and it is such a beautiful day here. What a wonderful, wonderful state to be in because the weather is phenomenal. Makes me think of South Africa, where I'm originally from. Guys, Meticulous Moments has been a light in my life. I am in my happy place when I am here with you guys. So I just want to say thank you to all the supporters, everyone that's been a guest on the show, everyone that's following the show. I want to say thank you for all you do. Thank you for imparting into my life. And many of you are also MAM members and MAM Hall of Fame inductees. And that makes my heart so, so glad. The martial arts community is my family globally. And so is the Meticulous Moments audience. I did as well a few weeks ago start the Meticulous Leadership Group where we come together and we share and we connect and we build together and we have ideas. Last night we had a wonderful speaker, one of my very good friends, Austin J. Haynes. So make sure that you pop in there with us on a Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm excited. I'm hyped up. I am elated because I know we're going to have a great session. And what has Meticulous Moments always been about? Why did I start it? Because my vision and my goal has always been to facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. So I bring the most amazing leaders on the show. And we share life experiences and we talk about a lot of things. We talk off the cuff and we bring out those principles and values and morals and really tools that we can use in our lives to build our business, to fix our family, to facilitate personal and professional development. That is what we're here for. So we decided to hop on here on a Friday night at 7 to brighten up your day, cheer you up a little bit, bring some joy, some spunk. And I've got a wonderful Grandmaster here with me. He is Grandmaster Mike Curtis. Now, a little bit of background. Let me tell you, Grandmaster Curtis and I had a really tough time getting on this interview. There were so many things that happened that we had to postpone. I had Wi Fi issues and you name it. But this is what persistence looks like. Here we are. And I want to say thank you to Grandmaster Curtis because he was so patient during the whole process. And he's here and we are ready to rock the stage. So without further ado, I bring to you Grandmaster Mike Curtis. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
It is
Good
such
to
an
be
honor.
here.
Thank you, sir. It's such an honor to have you here. Now, nobody can tell the audience better about you than you. So tell us a little bit about you. Who is Grandmaster Mike Curtis?
Well, I started martial arts in 1960, and I've been fortunate enough to train with Joe Lewis. I've got a fourth degree in Superfoot Systems. Studied with Kang Ree, and have a ninth degree in Taekwondo. Had the privilege of studying with some of the greatest martial arts. Cecil Patterson started me out in Waterloo in 1960, and Cecil was he was the father of Waterloo here in the U.S. As far as I know, and he took me along for 8 years, and I entered the scouting program and became an Eagle Scout, and to me that was quite an accomplishment to get there. And as far as the martial arts go, gosh, I had a black belt with Joe Lewis, a fourth degree with Superfoot, a ninth degree with Parks and Shun Ree and Kang Ree, and I was fortunate enough to be able to train with Joe when he was alive. He was a great man, and Bill Wallace, Superfoot. He just he's still kicking. He's got the fastest kick that I believe I've seen in my life. But it's really been. I got drafted, went to war, and I came back out of war, and we were all baby killers and crazy because of Agent Orange and everything, and everybody they downed us pretty hard. And in the last 3 or 4 years, I've had more thank yous for being a veteran than I did in all my lifetime. And it's been I was a pilot and I became an instrument pilot and an airline transport pilot. And I flew for Eastern Airlines, and then I flew for corporations, and pretty much Titan International brought me up here to Quincy as their chief pilot back in 1991, and
Wow.
I stayed with them for quite some time, and then I wound up bidding on what's called an FBO, fixed base operator. It's a we sold aircraft, we rented aircraft, we taught flying, we
Oh,
maintained them, housed them,
yeah.
crewed them for people. And, I've been fortunate enough to live around the world. I was in Germany, I was in Dubai, worked for a sheikh in Dubai, and worked for a steel company in Germany. And so I've lived all around the U.S. and I've been around the world. And 2021, I had a brain tumor, a massive tumor, and they had to do a 9 hour surgery and
Oh,
remove it from my brain. And I had to learn to walk and talk
mm,
and do everything again. And it's really, and that was in August. And then in July the following year, they tried to do a TAVR, and I wound up having to have open heart surgery.
oh,
So that was an ordeal.
yeah.
Anytime they saw your sternum open and wire you back shut, it's kind of a weird feeling.
Ouch. I can imagine that is a big operation, sir. And my heart goes out to you. My mom passed away in 2020 from stage 4 brain cancer. So I just want to say I'm so happy that your surgery went well and you still braved it through that and your heart surgery. And here you are today and you are still making an impact. I know you're busy with a lot of projects. And you mentioned that you started doing martial arts in 1960. And
Yep.
I just want to say, sir, you have been doing martial arts 20 years before I was even born. And
That's
that
been
is incredible. Well
that
done, sir. That is incredible.
that's been it's been my life passion. It took me 45 years to get to Grandmaster. You have a lot of people that
That's a
They,
long
they get
time.
grandmaster at 25 and 35, and
Wow.
I went the hard road, and it was 45 years before I gained ninth degree, and
Wow. That is cool.
it's really been it's been a blessing. It's what's kept me alive. God is.
Amen.
I died for a minute and 26 seconds in the ICU down in
Oh,
Barnes Hospital, and they hit me with the paddles and tried to bring me back around.
yeah.
And my sister was in there, and my sister slapped me hard as she could and said, "You're not leaving me, brother." And hearing that Southern Belle accent, she's from Tennessee. I was born and raised there. I opened my eyes, and it was
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Some of the things they were doing is they had this towel rack sitting at the end of the
Yeah.
hall, and people would come in, they would pick the towels up, and they'd move them in a different place, and then they would, some a big girl and a little girl would walk by, and then here come two skinny girls, and here come
Yeah.
two bigger girls, and then here come a guy on a cart, and he'd have empty boxes, and he'd set them off
Right.
on the floor. And I was sitting there and I asked him, and he'd pick them back up, the empty boxes, and he'd roll them back off. I said, "What are y'all doing?" They said, "We're keeping you alive." Said, "We found out we have to work the brain to make you live and to try to wonder." So, God bless Barnes
Wow.
Hospital. It's the most amazing thing
Wow.
that I was sitting here trying to figure out what in the world are they doing, putting everything in the same place. and then turning
Yeah.
around and the guys unloading empty boxes and then picking them back up. So you know,
Wow, that
God,
is so interesting.
God, he gives somebody the vision to do that to make your brain work because they had me so confused. I didn't know what was going on.
I can imagine. And after the surgeries and everything, you start to wonder, right? And here they
Yep.
are actually doing something that is keeping you going.
Oh,
And I've never heard of that before in my life. That is so interesting. That is so very cool.
yeah, it is, and my hats off to him because I would have probably died because I'd been under for 9 hours and 10 minutes, and when
Oh,
you're
wow.
under that long,
Yeah,
it's really difficult to come back around, and what they were doing, they were just making that brain work, making me think,
looking it
making me
up.
look and wonder what's going on, so I knew how to think, and so that kept me alive. It was a miracle.
Phenomenal. It is a miracle. I see God's hand in that, and I believe God gives us these ideas. He's given us medicine, He's given us science. And I've been saying it loud and proud for a long time that God has also given us martial arts because I really see how martial arts is changing the world into a better place. How martial artists go out there and they change the world. That energy, that positivity, that power, and it's
Absolutely.
all community driven, sir. So much respect to you for doing the martial arts so long and for still being active in the martial arts. Now, I know I heard a little birdie telling me that you have a book, and I want to hear more about your book and how people can purchase your book.
Well, I have a book called First Elite One, and it's a story about martial arts. It's about the military. It's got a little romance in it. It's got a lot of action, and uh, it's michaelcurtisbooks.com is where you can get a copy of it, and it's I just happen to have a copy here.
Very good.
There you go, and it it's a book about everything about positivity. I always tried to go to the top of whatever I started. When I started
Yes.
flying, I had to be an airline transport pilot and go to work for Eastern. And then I chose corporations. When I got into Boy Scouts, I had to go to Eagle Scout. When I,
Yeah.
got into martial arts, I had to go to Grand Master. Everything that I've set out to do in life, just being positive and going after your goals. And people that try to down you a little bit and give you negative thoughts,
Hmm.
they need to be, out of your life. Get rid of them and stay positive because the book is about achievements as well as it's a nice fiction book. But it's really it's got a lot of true stuff in it. It tells you how the government is doing, what they're doing, and what
Military
they were
wise.
doing back then, and a lot of the parts are really they get a little they get a little too truthful that had to be fiction. but but the book is it's a good read, and it's like I said, I don't want to spoil the book for anybody, but it's got a lot of good stuff in it, and you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it.
Absolutely, sir. I'm definitely going to get myself a copy, and I can't wait to read that because I do love a good book and I do love to learn more. And that is something that I feel has also been instilled by the martial arts. Once you learn those first few forms or katas, or you start to learn that first weapon, or the points fighting, or the full contact, or the self defense, you just want to know more. And reading is very, very good. And I would encourage the audience, get your book, because it sounds like it's going to be an amazing, amazing read. One of those that you pick up and you just can't put them down. You just want to keep reading until you get to the end. Now, I know we go through, I mean, life is life. So you've lived it, you've done amazing things in every category of your life. You know, you've been a go-getter. You've always, if you started something, you've strived to do, be the best at that, to reach that high level. And along that way, sometimes we have wonderful moments, memories that we'll always remember. And sometimes we have disappointments, or things go wrong, and we learn from that situation. What was a wonderful event that you can maybe think of that was an enlightening moment or a joyful moment that really just that, you know, if you think back to it, you just reminisce on that particular day?
Well, yes, I guess there's two or three of them. Probably, the first one was becoming an Eagle Scout. When I got to pin that necklace around my mother, standing up on the stage, they give all the mothers an eagle to wear. And when I put that on her, that was really, really a proud moment in my life.
Wow.
And I would say the second thing is when I passed my airline transport ride with Eastern Airlines. It's a real strict regiment to go in to be a pilot there. And I had to learn every switch in the 727, which I was flying back then. And I sat in that plane and closed my eyes and got to where I could, get close with reaching every one of them in every spot. So that was a big moment in my life when I made captain there. And of course, living in Dubai, I got to say, working for Sheikh Mohammed Mattoon was really, that was really a highlight of my life because he was the kind of guy that he'd tip you five, ten, $15,000 after a trip. I think one time, he tipped me 25,000, and everybody was like, "Gosh, what are you?" I said, "Well, I'm his bodyguard too." I said, I got to have a double job. I have to look after him, so I had a suite in the Westin, and then I stayed in the Palace half the time. And well, he owned the Westin, so it didn't really matter. They gave me a suite there, so that's where I kept my clothes and everything. But I looked after him pretty good, and I had several bodyguard guard jobs in my life, but his was probably the biggest one because of the money I made. I mean, you talked about low points in life. I've hit rock bottom, and I know what it's like to be broke, out of a job, not working, even almost homeless, and having to stay with some family just till I, found another job and everything. And it's. I can tell you, climbing to the top is a great feeling. And if you don't stay positive on the course and try to run it all the way to the top, you won't never get there. And don't let people bring you down because there's a lot of people. I could have went left when I should have went right. I could have went right when I should have went left. And people have a tendency to. They don't want you to be better than they are. That's one thing I like about being a Christian is you look at everybody and everybody's the same, but egos really really get in the way sometimes with people because they don't want you to make that achievement before they do, and they don't want you to be better than they are. So you always have to. I found myself as a very humble man, and I try to help everybody. I do Meals on Wheels on Thursday mornings. I try to. I go to Bible study on Wednesday night, church on Thursday nights at 6. I'm a greeter, and God put rewards people that believe in Him and try to do good. And He's
Amen.
blessed me. I have a sign going down in my basement. I'm too blessed to be stressed. And
Amen.
and it every time I'll open my door, I'll look and I'll say I'm too blessed to be stressed. So when I
That's
see
right.
that, I always realize that it's good to do His work and do His will. When I had a martial arts school here in Quincy for 25 years, I had out of the 30 something students I had, 15 were paying and 15 I sponsored, and I bought their karate gis. I bought their all their sparring gear, their helmets, foot gear, hand pads, shins, the whole 9 yards, and the bags to put them in.
That is
And
a
sponsoring those kids, I probably lost about 5,000 a year, paying the rent and having the paying students, but then having the students that I'd sponsored. And I think it's great if martial artists will sponsor a few every now and then. Just
yeah.
take them on, get some of the underprivileged and help them out because that's what it's all about. Is we're here to serve everybody, and we're here to be good stewards and
Agree.
God's way. And I
Mhm.
just I truly believe that, and that's why I sponsored so many.
Fantastic. And you build that foundation for them to be successful adults, to be people who can have that confidence that martial arts instill and go out into the world and pursue their dreams. Because let me tell you, audience and Grandmaster Curtis, I'm sure you will agree with me. You find a confidence within yourself when you start to master the art. When you start to realize, oh, but I started out and it looked so difficult. And here I am 5 months later and I can feel it. It's not just a move anymore, it's part of me. I think it's a wonderful idea. And I want to encourage all the martial arts studios out there. I know Nate sponsors athletes. I know Brandon sponsors all MAM members. You guys rock. Thank you for everything out there. Sponsor some children in your dojos. Help them
Absolutely.
see the way because a sensei, a kiyoshi, a sifu, guys, you are our mentors. It's not just a dojo, it's our second home. It's where we feel we belong. Now, I know, sir, you served the United States of America and you're a veteran. You mentioned that. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about your service. What is some of the most important lessons you learned when you had to go away and to had to serve your country?
Well, the biggest thing you learn is you learn they in basic training they break you down and they fill you full of propaganda and then they build you back up. And when you go into the military is a very strict regime. Martial arts is a lot like the military.
Mm.
Um, and but one thing you learn to do in the military, you learn to trust your brother. You have a man that might be standing right behind your back, regardless if he's black, Asian, Philippine. It doesn't matter what color he is. That's your brother. And when you're standing back to back, you learn to trust and you learn to believe. And the military, a lot of the stuff I did was covert, so I can't really get into a lot of it. But when you read the book, you'll find some things, and you know, it's
Get some tips.
it's one of those things that I just I can say the military is very strict, and when we got in Vietnam, it was it was I scared to death. I was 18 years old. They said, "You're going to war." I said,
Yeah.
"Every day I woke up, I thank the Lord for letting me live another day."
Amen. Amen.
And that really, when I got out of the military, it was it was tough. It was tough for a while. Finally, I got the job with Eastern Airlines, but after I got out, I hit rock bottom. I mean, but I did some things that I'm not proud of. You know, we all have a tendency to do things that we shouldn't do, and yeah, there's skeletons in my closet.
Everybody.
but but I just found after I got out, I was just so glad that I'd survived it, and pretty much, I still live with some of the things today, but basically, when I went to work for Eastern, I cleaned my act up, so to speak, got, everything together, and got back into arts pretty heavy. And, it, it just was, it made me the man I am today.
Amen. Amen. And it was waiting for you.
Yeah.
It was waiting for you when you came out. And sir, I've worked with a lot of military personnel. I don't always elaborate about that because it's a different part of what I do. But Navy, Army, Marines, I know a lot of people in the military, and I've worked with them before. And the martial arts really is that beacon of hope when they come out of service. It is that
Yes.
place that they can feel they belong. It is the place where they go back to the drawing board and they put their lives together again.
Yeah.
And it is a wonderful, wonderful platform and a wonderful tool. And I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done in your time in service because you served your country. And I want to give a shout out. I'm going to connect you with a very good friend of mine. His name is Joshua. He has the same name as my son. And also Gary, my grandmaster, because he has a non-profit that works with veterans. I'm also in that in that category with him. But Joshua, I'm sure that you and Joshua can do some things together. And
Sure.
when we look back, sometimes the things that we've done are things that we had to do in that moment. So
Yeah.
you can take heart and say, those are things that I had to do in that situation, and God knows my heart, and I am the person that God has shaped because the military is very unforgiving. And I'm going to be doing a presentation pretty soon, probably in my group on Thursday. I have a guest speaker as well. Shout out to Coach Marvin King. He's my Qigong teacher. But I'm going to do a presentation on shock, isolation, punishment, and reward. And those aren't four different concepts, they are a cycle. And I'm going to explain how that is used in the military and how that also comes through to other areas in life. But, sir, here you are. You are an author of the wonderful book, which we are going to purchase, by the way, the audience know. And you've made it this far. You have a wonderful network because if there's one thing that I see with the martial artists I know, and I know them all over the globe, is that they unite. And there is a martial arts, there's a brotherhood that is there waiting to support you and help you. And everybody, you support them, they support you, and it's genuine people. How has your journey do you have martial arts friends that you have been friends with for decades maybe, or long time?
Well, gosh, I've known, shoot, boy, a bunch of them since
Well,
I think I met Bill Wallace back in the late '70s, um,
it's a
and
long time.
I'm trying to remember. Well, Shunri was a great guy. I had the privilege of meeting him and working with him some, but I guess. trying to think, you know, uh, gosh, so many. I worked out with so many and learned from so many. It's hard to set back when you got 4 or 5 different black belts, and then
Right.
you,
This is
you,
a
you
lot
said,
of training.
yeah, you've got so much training. It's hard to pick who was that special person. Bill I've known for many years, and of course Shun Reeves passed on, and Kang Ree, and Cecil until he died,
Yeah.
and I had the privilege of meeting Bruce Lee. I never got to train with him or
Wow.
anything, but I
That's
did get.
awesome.
I watched him and Joe Louis work out one time, and
Wow.
that was a great thing. That was a highlight. I was a real young man, and I was in my teens, and I was working on my black belt, and me and my Cecil went over, and we saw him. I can't remember now where it was, but anyway, we to see Bruce Lee and to see Joe. They always said who would have won between the fight between Joe Louis and Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
and I was like, I saw them both, and they sparred a little bit,
Yeah.
and I have to say Joe probably got the better of him, but Bruce was faster, but Joe was bigger, and it's hard to beat a fast big man.
So I understand what you're saying. I mean, that is such wow. That is amazing that you got to see them do that spar. It's a part of history. And there's
Yes,
so
yeah,
many people that look up to Bruce Lee, and all of these wonderful people that really trained and that showed us good lessons. I think the thing I also enjoy about martial arts are the lessons I get. There's always a lesson. It's not just about going in and learning that kata, or just training for the day. There's a lesson. I get inspiration there. I
yes.
connect the dots in my mind there. I get answers to my problems there. I remember my Kiyoshi used to say, because I have a very fast paced lifestyle, always have. And he used to stop me at the door, because we used to have to bow at the door, right? And he used to stop me after I bowed. He would say, "Well, now you remember now, leave everything by the door. It stays outside. There's no rushing here. It's your time." And then
Yeah.
I would train for those 3 hours, and I would leave my worries or my concerns, or, if I was tired, I'd leave my fatigue by the door. And by the time I would get out of training, none of those things even mattered anymore. I
Yeah.
was good to go, and I had my second breath, and I could do it. And I'm sure other martial artists have the same experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's uh, when I had my school, uh, and probably I would say the students, the average black belt was about 5.5, 6 years. And
Yeah.
when I saw some of those kids that came up, they come in, I had some of them I had to teach parents as well. I used,
Mhm.
they had young kids that were coming in, and what I did is I gave all of them QuickBooks,
Oh,
and they couldn't manage their money, and I said, "Here, let me give you QuickBooks, something that's going to help you." And so I did a class on to the parents on how to use QuickBooks. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, after a couple of years, a couple of them, different times came to me and they said, "Man, you've saved our bacon. This thing tells you how much you can spend on groceries and gas,
wow.
and how much you got to spend on kids and everything." Said, "Man, you saved our bacon." But what it is, you can make the money you have go a lot farther
Yes,
when it's
that's
budgeted. And so many of the poor people, and so many of the white collar people and blue collar and everything, you don't manage your money right. And if you manage
That's
your
right.
money, you'll always have money.
That's
And even
right.
even even if it's a smaller amount of money, you still have money. But
Hmm.
it's the martial arts. That's just one way I shared with my students and the families was to help them budget, not only to learn to do the katas, to spar, because I had people bring me 4 year olds and 5 year olds, and I said, look, I'm going to put headgear on them. They're going to have pads, they're going to have feet, and they're going to get hit in the head, kicked in the head. And they look at me and they'd say, really? I said, yes. I said, they have to. I said, the
Yes.
first time a child goes out and gets hit in the head, he goes into minor shock. Every
Yes.
time. Doesn't matter. And if he's been hit in the head before, it doesn't. He knows. Oh, that's all right. I'll just hit them back in the head. but
That's true. It helps them
it,
overcome that fear.
yeah. But that's the way to really teach them and let them know. What it feels like to get hit in the head, kicked in the head. And
Right.
so we had sparring matches 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All the way up through 65. so,
That's good.
but and if you acted up in the class, I always made you do push-ups.
Oh,
But if you
yes.
didn't do push-ups, I made you put on sparring gear. If you sassed me, and you had to fight everyone in the class. And I was the last man, depending on how bad you had got it, whether you got it better or a little worse.
Right. It was worse because at the end, then you faced the master. Yeah.
But the
You
funny the
remind me
funny
of
thing about it
also.
is it
Yeah.
had only they only had to go through it once, and after you
Yeah.
spar about 20 matches, and then the grandmaster, you've done had your whipping.
That's right. That's right. And kids. I do believe that kids want those boundaries and they want that discipline. And the dojo is a good environment, it's a safe environment for them to learn good manners, for them to learn discipline, for them to learn what life is really about and what's right and wrong. I read a study a few years ago. I read a study that now little babies at 9 months old, it used to be at almost at the terrible two stage, right? When they were turning two,
Yeah,
they would know the difference between right and wrong. But now, because everything has changed, everything's developing so fast, they know what's the difference between right and wrong at 9 months already. When they're
yeah,
9 months old and they start walking, walking and crawling, and because everyone differs, they do it at different time frames. But I mean, the dojo is a good place. Those 100 push-ups, it does a world of good. It tweaks that attitude a little bit, and there's always a lesson to be learned. And yeah, it's a wonderful journey. It's the best gift we can give anybody, and they can start at any time. They
yeah,
don't have to think they had to start when they were young. They can start at any time, and that's just wonderful to me. It's just an amazing thing to do.
yes, it is, and it's the discipline learned helps them in school. It helps them everywhere, and
That's right.
I teach my children what you're learning this, but don't go picking fights. Don't go out and
Yes,
try to be a bully or do
yes,
anything. And I said if they smack you first, you have my permission. Go ahead, but make
oh yes.
sure make sure they draw first blood, as Rambo said or Sylvester
Yeah,
Stallone said. Make sure they
right.
draw first blood.
That's right. We want to give a shout out to Sylvester Stallone. He made good movies. Oh my gosh, and he's still busy. I know he's busy with Tulsa
Oh
Kings
yeah,
now.
he's still
Wow, those movies. I used to watch them all the time.
and he's still making movies. He's
Yes.
what is that, Tulsa King, and I think he's got another
Yeah.
Expendables movie coming out.
Oh. That's awesome. I watched all of the Expendables. Those movies are so
Yeah,
so cool. And I know even Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, both of them. I know they both make awesome movies and series. I
yeah,
watched a series from Arnold the other time. Something with the F. Was it Faber or Faber or? If you're in the comments audience, it was a series from Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it was so good. It was really so good. It was just a few episodes, but man, I enjoyed watching it. So those
yeah.
are the things that we watched when we were young.
Oh yeah,
All the Rambo movies. Yeah.
yeah. Everything. It was seeing the Rambo movies, and even from starting out with Tarzan. that
Yes.
that was back
Wasn't
for
was
your
a hit.
time, but he was one of my heroes. he
It
anybody
was
could
a good show.
anybody that could wrestle a lion take him down.
They have to be skilled. The lions and the Terminators. Oh my gosh, I watched all the Terminators. There's so
Yeah,
many good movies. So
uh,
so many out there, and martial arts is a part of them.
yeah, it is. It's been a big part of a lot of famous people. I mean,
Yeah.
um, Michael J. White. He's
Oh
made some
yeah.
good movies, and I had the privilege of sparring with him, working out. He came down to the
Wow.
one of the Superfoot camps. We were there, and he came
Oh
to get his black belt in the Superfoot system. So you shuffle
yeah.
around sparring in the Superfoot system. You have to spar, everybody that's in there. So when
Yeah.
he came up to me, he was pretty wore out. I was pretty wore out, but I tried to give him a match, but he's a little better than I was. I'll have to say, but a little stronger and a little better. I had this
Yeah.
age factor, and I
Yeah.
wasn't young like I used to be. In my younger days, I'd give him a fit.
That's good. Absolutely. But that is the experience is there. And you know what's the best part of that? Both of you enjoyed that sparring session. And it was a time that you could connect. Michael J. White, I saw another movie. I can't remember the name. It was quite a while ago, but it was a good movie that he was in. One of his most recent ones. And then also Scott Adkins. I mean, he's making amazing movies out there. Shout out to Scott, and also Silvio Simac. He's one of my facilitators at the MAM Hall of Fame. And then I also want to give a shout out to Alan DeLobby and Don the Dragon Wilson. I'm sure you know Don the Dragon's
Oh
film. They
yeah,
are
yeah.
bringing, yeah,
I've
they're
got.
bringing out the Shepherd's Code too, end of
I
summer.
met him
So
at the first time at the World's Championship in Toronto. Met him and
nice.
Cynthia and Michael J. And oh man, there was a bunch of us. I think I got a picture on my website on Facebook of all of us together across through there. We had a guy, I can't remember his name, but he tore phone books in half, and he even
Oh,
got had an iron skillet, and he tore it. His father, I'm sure, has passed away. He held the Guinness Book of World Records for breaking the most bricks, and that
oh,
was his son that was tearing the skillets in half. And believe me, I
jeez.
took the skillet, I tested it and felt it, and ain't no way I could have ripped it apart in any of my days. And his hands, he had strength in his hands that was unreal.
My
And his
goodness. I've never
and
heard
his
of that.
dad,
That's so
his
cool.
dad had broken more. He held the Guinness Book of World Records on the most bricks broke. So I can't remember
Wow.
their names.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. I'll be
Awesome.
72 in June, so
Oh!
the old memory starts fading out.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You have been conducting a phenomenal show, and I'm so blessed and honored, sir, to have you here. And you made the time. You took the time to be here, and I want to thank you. And I think we still have another session. I think there's some things we still want to delve into. So I'm going to
Absolutely.
invite you back for session two,
All
and
right.
we'll advertise that because there's a lot to be discovered here. All those years in martial arts, there's so much to talk about. So I just want to and I want to say thank you for being an inspiration, sir. It was a wonderful, wonderful time to have you on. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you, sir. And then for ending closing statements, are there any words of wisdom you want to share with the audience before we close out today?
The biggest thing I can say to people is trust in God and believe He's real and believe
Amen.
that your path will be made by the way that you believe in Him. Because
Amen.
if you really believe in Him, He's blessed me in so many ways and He's kept me alive. I've had more lives than four cats. And they, I just know that without Him and His willpower, I couldn't have pulled through the brain tumor surgery, the open heart surgery. I've been on the mending now for 3 or 4 years, but I'm working out at the Planet Fitness, and I'm trying to get everything back together, get my strength back up. And my goal is here in a year or so is maybe to start teaching martial arts again to the
Mhm.
underprivileged. Just do some classes for them and do that. But just
Wow.
believe in the man. He's the man. He's for real, and
Mm-hmm.
he's really inspired me through life to do and be good, and believing in him, you can be good.
Amen. Amen. And I can't think of a better way to close off this session today. Amen to that. I'll see you in the second session, sir. Audience, we will be back. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye
Bye bye.
bye.